She thought he was just a broke US traveler. But when he showed up in a limousine to confess. Have you ever met someone who seemed too good to be true? Someone who walked into your life like a quiet storm, turning everything upside down without you even realizing it. That's exactly what happened to Anna, the owner of a small seaside inn, nestled on the edge of a sleepy fishing village. She had spent years building walls around her heart, determined to keep the world at arm's length after losing so much. But then, he showed up, a man with dusty jeans, a torn backpack, and an American accent that caught her off guard. At first glance, he was just another traveler in need of shelter, lost and broke. Or so she thought. Little did Anna know, this stranger would change her life in ways she never imagined. The story begins on a cold, rainy evening, when the wind howled like a wild animal against the cliffs. Anna sat by the warm glow of her ledger, pen in hand, tallying numbers as the sea roared outside. Her days were predictable, disciplined, and lonely, just the way she liked them. Until he appeared at her gate. His name was James. Or at least that's what he called himself. He claimed to have lost his wallet while traveling across Europe, ending up in her quiet little corner of the world by some bizarre twist of fate. Anna wasn't buying it. No vacancies, she said curtly, waving him away. But something about the look in his eyes stayed with her, long after he disappeared into the storm. By the time midnight rolled around and the rain poured down in sheets, she found herself opening her door again. Not because she trusted him, but because no one deserved to face the wrath of nature alone. As the days turned into weeks, James became a fixture at the inn. He cleaned floors, fixed broken shutters, and chopped wood for the fire. To Anna, it felt strange having someone around after running the place solo for 2 years, following her mother's death. Yet there was something comforting about his presence. James didn't ask for much. He didn't pry into her past or push her boundaries. Instead, he listened when she spoke and worked tirelessly to earn his keep. Slowly but surely, cracks began to form in the walls Anna had built around herself. There were moments of laughter, like the time he tried baking banana bread and accidentally used salt instead of sugar. And then there were quieter, more intimate moments, like the night they sat together, watching the waves crash beneath the cliffs, neither saying a word, but both feeling the weight of unspoken emotions hanging between them. For the first time in years, Anna started to let her guard down. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to James than met the eye. One afternoon, while painting the fence together, James casually asked, "So, who broke your heart?" Anna froze, her paintbrush hovering mid-stroke. Without a word, she handed him the brush and walked away. Later that night, she found a note taped to his door. "Don't ask questions you're not ready to hear the answers to." It was cryptic, unsettling, yet oddly fitting. Because as much as Anna wanted to believe James was exactly who he claimed to be, a drifter passing through, there were signs that hinted otherwise. Like the sleek black phone she once saw him lock away in a drawer, or the flawless French he spoke to a tourist, or the way he sometimes stared out at the sea like it held secrets only he could understand. Still, she chose to ignore these red flags, convincing herself that maybe everyone has something they're hiding, even her. But secrets have a way of surfacing when you least expect them. One morning, Anna overheard James talking on that hidden phone in hushed tones. "I told you not yet," he said firmly. "No, I'm not ready to come back. I need more time." Her blood ran cold. Who was he really? What was he hiding? When confronted, James didn't deny it. Instead, he admitted, "It's complicated." Those 2 words sent Anna spiraling back into doubt and fear. How could she trust someone who had been lying to her from the start? In a fit of anger and hurt, she told him to leave. The inn fell silent again, but the emptiness felt heavier than before. Days passed, and Anna convinced herself she had made the right decision until disaster struck. Her father, Mr. Lawrence, collapsed suddenly one morning, suffering what turned out to be a stroke. Panic set in as Anna fumbled for help, her hands trembling too much to dial emergency services. And then, out of nowhere, James burst through the door like a force of nature. Soaked from the rain, he assessed the situation in seconds, calling for an ambulance and performing CPR until paramedics arrived. Watching him save her father's life left Anna reeling with questions. Why had he come back? Was he truly the man she thought she knew? Or was this just another act? As the ambulance drove away, James stood silently in the rain, waiting for Anna to say something, anything. But all she could manage was a single word, why? James's answer came days later, not in words, but in actions. A sleek black limousine pulled up to the inn, drawing stares from the entire village. Out stepped James, transformed into someone Anna barely recognized. Gone were the worn jeans and boyish smiles. And in their place was a polished, commanding figure, dressed in a tailored suit. He introduced himself properly this time. James Donovan, heir to a media empire worth billions. The revelation hit Anna like a tidal wave. Everything she thought she knew about him crumbled in an instant, but before she could process it all, James dropped another bombshell. He handed her a deed, transferring partial ownership of the inn to her name. No strings attached, he said. Just protection in case you ever need it. Then, without waiting for a response, he turned and walked away, leaving Anna standing there, her mind racing with conflicting emotions. Now, here we are, at the beginning of a tale that will take us deeper into the complexities of love, trust, and redemption. What happens next is anyone's guess. Will Anna find it in her heart to forgive James? Can their connection survive the lies and secrets that threaten to tear them apart? And most importantly, will James prove that beneath the wealth and status lies a man worthy of her trust? As we dive further into this story, one thing is certain. Sometimes, the people who walk into our lives unexpectedly are the ones who change us forever. Stay tuned for the next chapter, where truths will be revealed, hearts will be tested, and love will fight to find its way home. The days that followed James's sudden reappearance, and his even more sudden departure, left Anna in a state of a quiet chaos. Her mind replayed every moment they had shared, dissecting each word, each glance, trying to separate truth from illusion. The man who had walked into her life as a drifter was now revealed to be James Donovan, heir to one of the most powerful media empires in the world. It felt like a betrayal, not just of trust, but of something deeper, something she hadn't realized she'd allowed herself to want, connection. Yet there was no denying the sincerity in his eyes when he saved her father's life, or the way his voice cracked when he handed her the deed to the inn. He wasn't just apologizing for lying. He was pleading for her to see beyond the titles and wealth. Anna spent hours sitting by the sea, staring at the horizon where the sky met the water. She thought about her mother, who used to say, "People aren't always what they seem, love. Sometimes, their masks are hiding the best parts of themselves." Back then, Anna had rolled her eyes at the sentiment, dismissing it as romantic nonsense. Now those words gnawed at her, forcing her to confront uncomfortable questions. Was James truly the man she believed him to be? Or had she fallen for an illusion, crafted carefully by someone who knew how to play the part? And if he really was genuine, If the man beneath the suit was still the same person who fixed broken shutters and baked salty banana bread, could she forgive him? Meanwhile, James wrestled with his own demons. After leaving the inn, he returned to his penthouse in New York, surrounded by marble floors and glass walls that offered breathtaking views of the city skyline. But none of it brought him peace. Every corner of the opulent space reminded him of what he had left behind: the warmth of Anna's smile, the sound of waves crashing against the cliffs, the simplicity of mornings spent repairing things that mattered. For years, he had run from the weight of his family name, desperate to escape the expectations that came with it. When he stumbled upon Anna's village, he thought he'd finally found refuge. Instead, he had inadvertently created a web of lies that threatened to unravel everything he cared about. Back in the village, whispers spread like wildfire. The locals couldn't stop talking about the mysterious stranger who arrived in a limousine, only to leave again without explanation. Some speculated that Anna had been swept off her feet by a wealthy suitor. Others believed she had rejected him outright, unwilling to trade her independence for riches. No one knew the truth, not even Anna herself. The uncertainty weighed heavily on her, especially as her father recovered slowly in the hospital. Each visit with him was bittersweet. While she was grateful he was alive, she couldn't shake the feeling that James's presence lingered between them, unspoken yet undeniable. As weeks passed, another subplot began to emerge. A letter arrived, addressed to Anna, postmarked from New York. Inside was a formal invitation to attend the annual Donovan Media Gala, an event known for its glitz, glamour, and global influence. The note accompanying the invitation read simply, "Please come, there's something I need to show you. Signed, James." Anna stared at the heavy cardstock, torn between anger and curiosity. Attending the gala would mean stepping into a world she didn't understand, a world James had deliberately kept hidden from her. But staying away meant letting fear dictate her choices. After much deliberation, she decided to go, not for him, but for herself. If nothing else, she owed it to her heart to uncover the full picture before deciding whether to close the door on James forever. Preparing for the trip stirred up old memories. Anna dug through her mother's closet, searching for something elegant yet understated to wear. As she sifted through fabric and lace, she found a small wooden box tucked away in the corner. Inside was a faded photograph of her parents on their wedding day, along with a handwritten note. "Love isn't perfect. It's messy, complicated, and sometimes painful, but it's also worth fighting for." Holding the note in her hands, Anna felt a pang of clarity. She realized she wasn't just grappling with James's deception. She was confronting her own fears of vulnerability. Love required risk, and perhaps she had been too quick to dismiss it. When Anna stepped into the glittering ballroom of the Donovan estate, she felt wildly out of place. Among the sea of designer gowns and tailored suits, cameras flashed, and murmurs rippled through the crowd as people recognized her. Word had leaked that James Donovan had taken an interest in a small-town innkeeper, and speculation ran rampant. Ignoring the stares, Anna scanned the room until her eyes landed on James. He stood near the grand piano, looking impossibly handsome in a classic black tuxedo. Their gazes locked, and for a moment, the noise around them faded into silence. James approached her cautiously, his expression guarded yet hopeful. "Thank you for coming," he said softly. Before she could respond, he gestured toward a large screen set up at the front of the room. "I wanted to show you this." A video began to play, showcasing stories of families whose lives had been transformed by charitable initiatives funded by Donovan Media. Among them was footage of Anna's inn, repurposed as a retreat for struggling single parents. James explained, "This is my vision, a legacy built on helping others. But none of it means anything without you. You inspired me to believe in second chances, in redemption. And now I'm asking for yours." The room seemed to spin as Anna processed his words. This wasn't just about apologies or explanations. It was about a future neither of them had dared to imagine, yet doubts lingered. Could she trust him enough to take such a leap? As the music swelled and guests applauded, James dropped to one knee, holding out a simple ring. "I don't care about titles or fortunes," he said, his voice trembling. "All I want is to spend the rest of my life proving that I'm worthy of your faith." For a heartbeat, the entire room held its breath. Anna looked into James's eyes, seeing both the man he was and the man he wanted to become. Suspense hung thick in the air, unresolved. As the story reached its tipping point, would she accept? As James stood there, his hands cupping her face, Anna felt the weight of everything they had been through, the lies, the truths, the moments that broke them and the ones that mended them. She realized then that love wasn't about perfection. It was about choosing each other despite imperfections. "You didn't just bring yourself home," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "You brought me back to myself." The Haven Project became more than just a retreat. It was their shared dream, their legacy. Families who needed healing found solace in the same rooms where Anna and James had once danced around their fears. The inn transformed into a sanctuary, not only for others, but also for them. A reminder of how far they'd come together. Every ribbon tied on the trellises, every light strung up in the trees, told their story. Two people who stumbled into each other's lives like lost travelers and ended up finding forever. But life isn't without its challenges, even after happily ever afters are promised. Months later, when reporters inevitably caught wind of James Donovan's whereabouts, now living quietly in a fishing village, the media circus began again. Cameras flashed outside the inn. Questions flew about his decision to leave the corporate world, and headlines screamed about the billionaire who chose love over empire. For a moment, Anna feared the chaos would tear apart the peace they had built. But this time, James didn't run. Instead, he faced the storm head-on, standing beside Anna as they released a joint statement. "We believe love doesn't need an audience, and neither does happiness." That statement silenced critics and won hearts worldwide. It wasn't just words. It was proof of how much James had changed, how much they had grown together. The inn thrived under their care, becoming a symbol of hope for those seeking refuge from life's storms. And while James still joked about his culinary disasters, Anna couldn't help but laugh at the memory of that salty banana bread. It was funny how something so imperfect could feel so perfect now. One evening, as they sat by the cliffs, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of gold and crimson, James turned to Anna. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't shown up at your gate that night?" She leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder. "I do," she admitted. "But then I remember that it wasn't the rain, or the broken shutters, or even the lies that brought us here. It was trust. Not the kind that comes easily, but the kind we fought for." Their journey hadn't been easy, but maybe that was the point. Love wasn't supposed to be effortless. It was supposed to challenge you, to push you to become better versions of yourselves. Anna thought about all the times she had wanted to close the door on James, to protect herself from getting hurt again. Yet, every time she chose to open it instead, she let love in, and love, she learned, was worth every risk. In the years that followed, the inn remained the heart of their lives. Guests often remarked on the warmth they felt there, the sense that the place held countless untold stories. What they didn't know was that the most beautiful story of all was the one unfolding right before their eyes. A man and a woman who had started as strangers, survived as friends, and flourished as partners. James and Anna taught everyone around them that second chances weren't just for relationships. They were for dreams, for forgiveness, for life itself. Whether it was a family finding comfort in the Haven Project or a guest hearing their tale over breakfast, the message was clear. Sometimes, the greatest adventures begin with a single step into the unknown. And so, as the waves crashed against the cliffs and the stars blinked awake in the velvet sky, Anna and James sat hand in hand, grateful for the messy, unpredictable journey that had led them here. They knew life would continue, throwing curveballs their way, but they also knew they'd face them together. After all, they had already weathered the worst storms and emerged stronger on the other side. For anyone watching this story unfold, may it remind you that love isn't about grand gestures or flawless beginnings. It's about showing up, staying put, and believing in the power of connection. Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable journey. If these characters touched your heart, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications for more soul-stirring tales, because sometimes the stories we least expect are the ones that change us the most. Until next time, keep your heart open, embrace second chances, and always remember, love, when it's real, is always worth the wait. Is proposal, or would the wounds of his deception prove too deep to heal? Only time and courage would tell.